Hmm. Now we gotta act like we ain't been shooting the stuff.
Okay, good afternoon, folks. Good evening. This is Robert Vaughn with Let's Talk Radio. We have our panel, our normal panel, usual panel, Burl Majid, Mike Shomo. And today we have a very special guest in the house, Zack Reed. Zack Reed, if for you, those of you that don't know, I should have said, introduce to some and present to others because I'm sure most people watching probably know who Zack is. But Zack has always been committed to the city of Cleveland. He didn't just, happen to pop in, this year or a couple years ago. He's been around, grew up in Mount Pleasant, worked as a paper boy for the press and a plain dealer. And, I had a job throwing papers too. And when you throw papers, you kind of know the neighborhood. You get to know who's who in the neighborhood. He was raised by a single mother. She worked tirelessly, raising three boys to have an opportunity. He graduated from John F. Kennedy High School, who at one time they thought they had the best football team, but we'll talk about that on another show. He was a utility infielder for the Fighting Eagles, and today he lives in Mount Pleasant. After graduation, Zack jumped right into the political world, where he worked as State Senator Lee Fisher's grassroots organizer. Lee and I went to school together, and I know if he worked for Lee, he had to be doing a pretty good job because he wouldn't have been around too long. And during that same election cycle, Dick Celeste was elected governor, and Zack was appointed to a position at the Ohio Department of Natural Resources. He worked in the Division of Civilian Conservation Corps for 11 years. Through a grant that was awarded to CMHA, Zack was able to work with young adults from CMHA to be trained in the Conservation Corps. The program allowed for these individuals to work on community projects to improve the quality of life for the residents of the CMHA estates. After that, Zack was recruited by the San Francisco Housing Authority to launch the same program. Now, I'm going to move forward a little bit because Zack's resume, we only have an hour for the show. So I'm going to kind of encapsulate a little bit of it. January 2001, Zack was appointed to the Cleveland City Council and went on to win the seat in November. He fulfilled a lifelong dream representing the neighborhood in which he grew up. He represented the southeast side of Cleveland, Mount Pleasant, Union Miles, and Mills Creek Falls until 2017. So he was in council for 17 years, which I think is important because in council, that's sort of the training ground for mayor. So a lot of people look at it as like a training ground for mayor. Zack is running for mayor in the city of Cleveland. And I'm sure, 17 years on council would probably do him good. He's worked on a lot of initiatives in public safety, economic development, education. He also sponsored legislation to allow free parking downtown during the holiday season, which is one of the main reasons I didn't go downtown because you could pay a lot of money to park to go shop, So a lot of people appreciated that. For 25 years, he's held an annual Toys for Tots fundraiser. It's raised more than $10,000 and provided 20,000 plus Christmas toys for children throughout the city who otherwise would not have had been blessed with some gifts for Christmas. Also launched Family Unity in the Park, which is a free outdoor community health fair and concert. It was held every year at Luke Easter Park, the state's largest urban park. Some of you may know it as Woodhill. We still call it, Mike and I still call it Woodhill, but now I guess it's Luke Easter Park. So, I'm gonna stop here because, like I say, we only have an hour for the show. But just suffice to say that Zack has been involved in Cleveland for a very long time. He's dedicated. He's never wavered from his support for the city. And so, having said that, I want to ask you, Zack, why do you want to be mayor, and why did you decide to run at this particular time?
Well, first of all, I'll say thank you. Thank you for this opportunity to have this good conversation, and I look forward to the conversation. I look forward to the questions, and I look forward to the comments that may come out. So let me say, first of all, thank you very much for this opportunity to have this, for us to talk this evening. The reason that I'm running for mayor is, first of all, because I love this city and I love the people in this city. And this city has been very good to me, and the city has been very good to my family. And I want to give back. I grew up I still live in Mount Pleasant. I grew up in Mount Pleasant. I know it's a strong neighborhood. I know it can be stronger. And I want to go to 601 Lakeside, to City Hall, and I want to put together a plan that shows that, given the right resources, given the right funding, having the right leadership in place, you can see every ward, every community, every neighborhood stronger in this city. So I want to be mayor to show that a good plan, a good vision, and good leadership will change the direction of the city for the better. And that's why I'm running for mayor of the city of Cleveland.
Okay, all right. Burl, you want to?
Yeah, I got a question.
Mhm.
Zach, I understand there's about 11 people running for mayor this time around. What makes you feel like you're the most qualified out of this field of candidates?
Well, whether he was joking about it, I mean, Robert made it clear. My resume speaks for itself. We think about 11 years working for the governor of the state of Ohio, for the Ohio Civilian Conservation Corps, training young people between the ages of 18 to 24 to work on conservation and beautification projects throughout the state of Ohio. The fact that we got a grant, thanks to Congressman Louis Stokes, to take young people out of public housing, train them in the Civilian Conservation Corps for 6 months, and then put them in local unions across this, Northeast Ohio. And to have those young people come back to me even today and say, you gave me the opportunity to get trained in the Civilian Conservation Corps. And then I'm still working for the union today and they're working on buildings downtown. But then we were so successful here in Cleveland that I was asked to go out and do the same thing in San Francisco, and to look at the fact that at that time, San Francisco public housing was deemed to be one of the worst public housing authorities, large housing authorities in the entire nation. And in 1 year, we went from one of the worst housing authorities in the nation for large housing authorities to the most improved large housing authority in the entire nation. And I had an intricate part of that. So then you come back and say, I came back and I worked for Children and Family Services for a year, deploying everybody from Jane Hunter out to the outside neighborhoods like Clark Fulton, Southview, Cleveland, Mount Pleasant, Quincy Avenue, and things like that. Then I went for 17 years as a councilman for the city of Cleveland. And then I just finished almost 3 years of working for the Ohio Secretary of State, Mr. Frank LaRose. So my resume shows you that I have the leadership quality, I've got the vision, and I've got those that plan that on day one, because that's what it's going to take, on day one in the middle of a pandemic, because we have no idea where we're going to be in 2022. But we know that we're still going to be living out the effects of the pandemic. And you need somebody that's going to be down at City Hall, not learning about what's going on in the city, but knows every neighborhood. I mean, I've been in almost every neighborhood in this city of Cleveland. I've been on almost every street in the city of Cleveland. Why? Because I've had the opportunity to work for a number of agencies, individuals, and organizations that have given me the opportunity to travel across the city. And that's the type of mayor you need. Somebody that has that plan, someone who has the leadership, and someone who has the vision to change and make our neighborhood stronger, give us more opportunities, and make our lives better for everyone.
All right.
Mike, you have a follow-up question?
In 2020, says that Cleveland population was 376,000 people here. Downtown was built up from the 90s, spent $3.5 billion, to do downtown. Now, there's 125,000 people that live in the downtown area. That leaves 250,000 people that's in the urban areas or other parts of Cleveland. You know, how do you address that as far as, you know, your strategy for including the people, or, you know, excluding the people that are downtown, and including the people that's in there?
Well, first of all, I got to figure out, I would like to know the definition of what you call downtown, simply because I know it is the fastest growing neighborhood in the entire city of Cleveland.
Right.
So there's no ifs, ands, or buts about that, on whether the population is 125 or whether it's at 15, 20,000 growing every day and things like that. You need a strong downtown. And it's a good thing that we're not only building a strong downtown, you know, economically, but residential wise, we're building a good, strong downtown, because you need that type of energy and you need that type of synergy as it relates to being able to get people to invest back into your city as a whole. Because people got to have places to go. They got to have good restaurants. They got to have good, we got great sports venues. We got a great art district. We got good parks and things along that line. But what we have not done is we literally have to tie the economic engine of downtown to the communities that surround not only downtown, but the city as a whole. Because the people who got to believe that the building up of downtown is just as important to the people downtown as it's got to be to the people who live in Glendale, and the people who live in Mount Pleasant, people who live in Collinwood, people who live in West Park. Because the mentality, I remember when I first got on city council, and there was a piece of legislation going through, and it was centered on doing UDAD grants for downtown. And some people were like, we shouldn't be doing that. We should be getting our money back. They should be paying us back. And you know, it was Forest City and this and that and in between. And I remember I said, whoa, downtown, and this is going back to 2001 when I first got on council. I was like, downtown is a neighborhood. Now, it was not as prosperous and not as growing as it is today, but it's still a neighborhood. People live downtown, even at that time. So what we've done is we've got this mentality that it's us against them, that it's uptown versus downtown. And what we've got to do is we've got to have a mayor in office that understands a viable downtown is just as important to the people who live downtown and who work downtown as to the people who live in the Clark Ford neighborhood, the people who live in Slavic Village. And what we have not done, what under this leadership has done that. So now you set up this mentality that if we go and we invest in certain neighborhoods, then we're taken away from another neighborhood. And the example that I use is centered on public safety. If the people who are going and committing criminal activities, carjacking, robberies, burglaries in neighborhoods like a Tremont that's growing and moving forward, a Detroit Shoreway. Well, one of the reasons they're doing it is because they believe the neighborhood that they're living in is far less superior than that neighborhood.
Right.
Understanding that if I go carjack somebody in Tremont, or I go rob somebody in Detroit Shoreway, or I do something to someone downtown, that affects the entire city. And why are they doing it? Because they believe it's us against them. So I'm gonna leave my neighborhood and I'm gonna go to your neighborhood and I'm gonna cause havoc and chaos and create and do criminal activity in your neighborhood because that's not my neighborhood. Well, we've got to show that that neighborhood is a part of the city and that we are all a part of this great city. And we've got to love this city. We got to embrace this city. And we all got to work together to improve the quality of life for the people who live, work, play, and worship and go to school here in this city.
Okay. Zack, let me ask you this. If elected, what would you do differently? Specifically, give me some specifics. What would you do different than what's going on right now?
We use the word if get elected, when I'm elected.
When you're elected, okay.
When I'm elected mayor of the city of Cleveland, one of the first things we're going to have open transparency. See, there's really goes back to what Mike's question is, we were not really having a good conversation with the people in the community. There's really no communication with the people in the community. So what I'm going to do differently is I'm going to be a mayor that's going to be out there asking those questions to the residents in those in the community. What do you actually want?
Right.
What do you actually need? What are we not doing at 601 Lakeside that we should be doing? Let's have a robust conversation about the way that you feel your neighborhood should be.
Okay.
So we're talking about having ongoing town hall meetings. We're talking about opening up City Hall. I've said on Saturdays, I know my team doesn't like me saying every Saturday. So maybe it's not every Saturday, but it's going to be a number of Saturdays that we're going to open up 601 Lakeside City Hall so people can come talk to their mayor firsthand. So we can have a conversation firsthand with no schedule. You're not going to need to see my scheduling. Just come down, sign up, come up to my office, sit in my office. Let's have a conversation about what do you want in West Park? What can we do for you here in West Park? What can we do for you here in Lee Harbor? So the biggest difference that you will see when I'm elected mayor of the city of Cleveland is going to be transparency. Transparency when you look at, on our computer system. I mean, you should be able to go to our website and see what are the healthcare disparities in the city of Cleveland? What are the the crime stats in the city of Cleveland? What are we doing good? What are we not doing so well? And that's and that needs to be right in front of the residents of the city of Cleveland. So as they see it, they got ideas. I mean, I don't know why we seem to think that everybody that works downtown in 601 Lakeside has all the ideas.
Right.
I mean, the people who live in Slavic Village and in Mill Creek and in Glenville and in Huff, they got some damn good ideas. So why are we not talking to them?
Well, that's one of the things that that's been going on for years is this, that, you come up with a good idea, you want to talk with them, they're like, yeah, well, we don't know you, but the thing is, there are people that can solve problems. It's just like with the nonprofits, they're not getting the respect and the money that they need to do the things that they need because they're in touch and they have a special theme that they're doing. They want to help this group of people or that group of people, but it's still, if they're funded properly, that a lot of other things would fall in line.
Well, I think the first thing we got to do, Michael, I think the first thing we got to do, I'd say the first thing that we've got to do is we got to come to the realization that the status quo is unacceptable.
Right.
So we believe the status quo is unacceptable. Those things you're talking about, the things that I'm talking about, the things that we're talking about, we would then do radical changes to change it. I think you talked about Luke Easter Park. The reason we were able to do that festival.
Okay. We talked about incremental
Mike,
changes.
he's still talking, Mike. He's still talking. Go ahead, Zach.
The reason we were able to do the unity, the reason we were able to do family unity in the park, that festival, is because I looked at Luke Easter Park and said, this is the largest urban park in the entire state of Ohio. That's our central park right here in Cleveland. Why aren't we using this park? So when I first came on and said, we're going to start to bring name brand groups, top-notch groups to Luke Easter Park, such as the Ohio Players and the Average White Band and the OJs and the Temptations. When I first came up there and said, then we're going to have fireworks at the end of that concert, people thought I was out of my damn mind. It's like, you're going to put that many people in that park and they look like me and you on this kind, and I'm going to tell you, it's going to be chaos, pure chaos. It's going to be big time trouble. So we went from 1,000 people in the first year. Then when we stopped, it was up to an average of 20,000 people in that park. Not having one problem, not having one big confrontation to where we had to shut it down. Why? Because first of all, I had the vision, I showed leadership, and I had faith in our people that if you gave them something good, they would like it, they would embrace it, and they would make it a success. And that's what we've got to do in these communities now. We've got to give the people in these communities the opportunity to show you, if you give them something good, they're going to embrace it. And they're going to help you make it better. but we're not taking those chances. And that's the reason we've got to agree that the status quo is unacceptable.
I agree. Hey, listen, Zach, one of the things my concern is about is the school. How do we improve the school system? And I know it'll take a lot of different things, parental involvement and other things. And in addition to that, I remember when the Ohio Lottery first came into business, they were saying the revenues from the Ohio Lottery would solve all the financial problems the school had. But later on, I found out that the money that was supposed to go to our schools is going to the general fund down in Columbus, and it then ends up getting distributed down in Southern Ohio and other places throughout the state. I think Ohio Lottery money that's generated in the city of Cleveland should benefit Ohio schools, particularly since we have so many businesses leaving and then poor communities don't have that tax base to, to fund the schools with all the things they need, all the top-notch things.
Well, let me first of all say, let's set the record straight. All the funding that comes out of the lottery goes to education, does not go into the general fund. The lottery it pays for itself. So all the employees, all the advertising, everything you see from the lottery is paid for out of the lottery funds. And then those funds are then given to school districts across. But when it comes to funding in the Cleveland Metropolitan School District, it's not a funding issue. I mean, if people try to put that on the funding issue, can they use more funds? Can we use the funds a lot better and things like that? But you understand that to educate a kid to educate a student in the Cleveland Metropolitan School District, it's one of the highest, education. It takes a lot of money, and it is from the top as it relates to educating the student in the Cleveland Metropolitan School District. It's one of the tops in the entire state of Ohio. Okay. Yet we're one of the lowest performing school districts in the entire state of Ohio. So something's wrong.
You're saying the money's going there, but we're not getting the right results, the graduation rate.
We're not getting the results. And you got to go back and see that we have not been out of continuous improvement since Dr. Sanders left and went to Sandusky, and the present leadership has been in place. Something's wrong with that picture. When you look at Dr. Sanders left in 2013, and since 2013, we have not been out of continual education. And we've been at the bottom of that list. But yet we continue to pass levies to make sure that we have ongoing operating funds. We pass levies to ensure that we've got good new school buildings. We pass levies, we pass legislation called the Cleveland Plan, but yet the results are the same. And I say to you that if those results, that we were at the bottom of the ladder as it relates to the Cleveland Browns, we get rid of that head coach. We get rid of that. We get rid of that leadership as a whole. Right. You would get rid of that leadership as a whole.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. We first have got to understand this is about saying what we all know, but no one really wants to say, but I'm saying it, that the status quo is unacceptable.
And the job's not getting done.
And we need new leadership, we need new vision, and we need a new mayor.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
I want to just add something to what you said. I know when I used to be involved in a lot of different political campaigns and a lot of different things in Shaker and some with the county. And one of the things that we found was that with school levies, attractive schools keep your property values up. Mm-hmm. Attractive schools is what makes people want to move in a certain area.
Right.
Matter of fact, I was down in Cincinnati last year, and I was looking at some of the different high schools. And I mean, they look like every school in the city of Cincinnati looks like a suburban school. They all have nice, look like college stadiums. They all have full weight rooms. I mean, they have 3 baseball diamonds at just about every single high school.
I think they did a good job on the new JFK, though.
Yeah. But see what that does, that makes people in the Cincinnati area, now people are moving back in from the suburbs, from Hamilton and some other places, back into the city of Cincinnati because the schools are making the property more attractive.
Yeah,
So
well,
I think with Cleveland, until we fix the schools, I think that's gonna, that's gonna create a lot of headaches for us. And if we fix, once we get the schools fixed, that's gonna take care of a lot of things. What's your view on that, Zach?
Well, let me first of all say this, because you're absolutely right. Let me say this, that I spoke to a young lady yesterday who lives in West Park, and she sends her daughter to Riverview, which is one of the best schools that we have in the entire system. But now her daughter is about to graduate from Riverside, and she is now trying to figure out how is she going to move out of West Park, which is a really nice neighborhood, to go and move to Solon or outside of the city of Cleveland based on one thing and one thing only, the educational system. Or she has to make a decision if she wants to pay thousands of dollars in tuition to send her little girl to private school. So we all know, going back to what you said, Mike, early on, that we can bring all of these individuals back to downtown, and they can be young, and they can be exciting, and they can be energetic. But when they get a girlfriend or boyfriend, and they get married, and they start to have kids of school age, they start to make a decision: do we want to go to stay in Cleveland, or whether or not they want to move? And what I've been saying to people, we need to have a school system that people are not running away from. We need to have a school system that people are running to. And it's not just about, and it's just not about building new school buildings. As council person in Mount Pleasant, when Barbara Byrd Bennett and Mike White convinced the voters that we were going to pass the issue to build brand new school buildings, I said early on, I want all brand new schools. I'm not against renovating schools, but I want all brand new schools. So before I left council, every school in Mount Pleasant in Ward 2 was brand new, brand spanking new. But you know what? I only had one school that was part of the upper echelon as it relates to schools, and that was Warner Girls Academy. The only one out of all the 11 schools. So it showed me what? Building new school buildings was not going to be enough. We were going to have to do far better than building brand new school buildings. So that's why I go back to what you said, Ver. It comes down to leadership. Putting good leaders in good places to do the right thing for those students, so that those students, when they graduate from the Cleveland Metropolitan School District, they can be just like me, knowing that when I graduated from John F. Kennedy, the greatest high school in the history of high schools, I knew I could go anywhere in the country and go to college, get accepted, and be able to come back and do what I'm doing right now. We have an obligation and responsibility to those students in that Cleveland Metropolitan School District to do the same thing to them today that was done for me yesterday.
Well,
Mike,
I was, I agree with, what you're saying about the education. I was, when I first came out of college, I taught at Whitney Young for a couple of years, and, which is a major work school now, but, the proper training, proper schools, and, whether, who was that, the lady in Chicago, Marva
Collins.
Yeah, remember, she was educating kids in almost a condemned building, but the kids was coming out smart as ever. They were going to different places, getting scholarships and doing everything, So it goes to, like you said, leadership, and to have a mission. When in 1945, I think it was, when Nehru took over India, and when they became the prime minister of India, what he did was, first he abolished the caste system. Everybody knew what the caste system is, right? They abolished it. He went around and said, okay, all the kids, they weren't going to school, so now he mandated that everybody go to school, okay? Because because of the caste system, and because of their, their economics and stuff. The higher people went to school, the poor people didn't, but everybody had to go to school. And here we go. Then he went around and looked at the schools and saw that they was math deficient. He hired people from that were in Saudi Arabia, Africa, and they brought these people into tutoring. Now, you look at their math system now, what do you got? Every tech company in America, probably in the world, has an Indian that sits on top of that because they are so advanced in math. And we could do that. We could do the same thing because he's a third world country that's now superior in math. You look at your IT people and you'll see, you know, and at one time, when you talk about the people that brought, bringing other teachers and stuff in, remember they were bringing the Africans in to teach in the Cleveland public schools math to the kids, So I don't know what happened to that vision, but that it came into the be with the STEM system, the science and technology and engineering and math. Mm-hmm. So it's a thing that we have to push more at to make sure that our people are getting a fair shake in the job market and not being left out to, which is nothing wrong with a janitor, because I did janitorial management for 40 years, but nevertheless, we need our kids and our young people, to be in that tech, to be in the situation where they can go to Wall Street, to be in a situation where they can own companies and be the head of companies. And that's what we need to do.
Well, I think what we got to do, Mike, because I don't disagree with anything you're saying there, but what we got to do is we got to actually just go back into the school system and say, some of you are going to go to college, and we're going to make sure that when you leave here, we're going to give you the tools you need to go and be accepted in any college in the country.
Right.
Some of you are not going to go to college. So we got to have, so why is it that we only have one vocational school in the entire city of Cleveland, and it's on the far east side of the city of Cleveland? Well, we've all been saying this for far too long, that we need to be training our young people to be able to take on the jobs of tomorrow. And all the jobs of tomorrow don't require a college degree.
Can I say this?
I would say this, that when I know that I had several of my friends who went to aviation high school. And when they graduated from aviation high school, they went on to the Air Force, and they've been able to take care of their families from now and for years to come. And it was because we had a smorgasbord and a buffet of different opportunities for our students when I was going to school. But that's what we got to get back to. So we need to, so I'm saying as mayor, I'm gonna have a vocational school on the east side of the city of Cleveland. I'm gonna have a vocational school on the west side of the city of Cleveland. I'm gonna have a portfolio that's gonna say to these young people, if you want to go to college, we're gonna ensure that you have the tools in place to go to college. But if you don't want to go to college, that's why I said one of the things, going back to where you're talking about jobs, one of the things that when I was a councilman in Ward 2, I put together a program to where we took vacant houses, and I said that we're going to buy these vacant houses, or we're going to obtain these vacant houses from Land Bank or the city or wherever it may be. And we're going to train formerly incarcerated men and women how to be carpenters, how to be roofers, how to be painters, how to be landscapers. We're going to train them how to do this. Why? Because we've got to build an economic base back in these communities again.
Right.
I'm tired of seeing these vacant lots. I'm tired of seeing these vacant buildings. I'm tired of seeing these vacant storefronts up and down Buckeye, up and down Mount Pleasant, up and down these streets, all up and down this city.
Jasmine,
I want to see businesses back in these buildings. I want to see families back in these communities. And you got to show them something different. And I just keep pounding it home. It comes down to leadership. We're all Browns fans. What was the difference between what the Browns gave us a few years ago and what they had this year? It was a new head coach with new leadership that led his offensive way. He was the offensive coordinator, but he led his defensive coordinator and the special teams coordinator. They were even talking about the offensive coordinator, the offensive line coach. They all knew. That's what I'm talking about. I'm going to put a team in City Hall that is going to be second to none. And when you look at that team, whether it's a new police chief, you're going to know that the police chief, when Zack Reed talks about community policing, you're going to know exactly what community policing means. Because why? Because you're going to see it every single day. When we talk about a new health director, you're going to see, we're not only going to be talking about the city of Cleveland leading the nation in infant mortality rate, because I'm going to have somebody down there that understands what the plan is, and they're going to have the experience, and they're going to have the leadership, and they're going to have a plan to move us off of these lists into the list of going downward, and you're going to start to see us going upward.
And I just want to add this. I think one of the problems, as I see it with Cleveland, has been with a lot of organizations, you have people that have been there for a while. And the reason they never change is because they do things the same way they did it 20, 30, 40 years ago. And a lot of times in order to change, some of the people have to go. I think it's time, everybody reaches a time where it's time for them to go and somebody new to come in. And like you talked about Cleveland schools, I mean, 7 years, man. I love to have a head coaching job for 7 years and not have a winning season.
Exactly.
I
can't use a better analogy than that.
Huh?
I can't use a better analogy than that. I mean, that's the analogy I can use. There's no way in the city of Cleveland, the way we starve for championships in this city, that we'll let somebody be there for 7 years and not have a winning season.
It's ridiculous, man. It makes no sense.
With the funding in place, you got the funding, so you can't blame it on the fact that you don't have money to build new schools. You can't blame it on the fact that you don't have operating opportunities. You can't blame it on the fact that you haven't been able to go to Columbus and get new legislation deemed strictly for you called a Cleveland plan, but yet the outcomes are the same. And that's why I say, once again, it comes down to leadership. And I'm saying that I know I have the leadership. I know I have the experience that you can count on.
You got a track record. Yeah, you got a track record. And I
like, okay, I'm sorry, go ahead, Robert.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, until, we need somebody that can go down there and say, hey, I know one of the first campaigns I worked on, and I'm gonna date myself, was John Conyers. I was young in Detroit the first time he ran. And my uncle was a state senator, so I worked on his campaign, John Conyers. And what happened was they say, well, you were supposed to get the youth vote. You didn't do your job. You sucked. So you got to go. They say, okay, you were supposed to get the women at church, and they showed up. So we're going to give you a promotion. They say, well, you were supposed to get the ethnic vote for John Conyers, and it didn't happen, man. So you sucked. You got to go. And they went. I remember they went around the table. I was just 12 or 13 years old, but I never will forget. They went around the table, and if you didn't do your job, you had to go.
It's called accountability.
It was nothing personal. It was nothing personal. Everybody knew it. They say, well, I guess I'll be out. Yeah, you will, because you didn't do your job. And the people that did a good job, they stayed and they got promoted. And we don't have that accountability. Yeah.
It's called accountability. And that's why I'm saying if people want to learn more about what I'm talking about as it relates to accountability and see it firsthand, just go to my website. Go to, zackreed.com, go to votezackreed.com. Just go there and you will see an actual plan in place, not fluff, not making my web designer feel good about himself because he did a damn good job on my website, but you will actually be able to go on there and see a real plan that you can buy into that comes from experience. Going back to what you were just saying with John Conyers, I work for Mayor Willie Brown, another living legend in the game of African-American politics in the United States. And I remember when he was running for his second term, and I remember it was astonishing that he said that I am going to improve public housing in San Francisco. I was like, we were all like, that's stunning, simply because it's not a lot talking about. This is that the big height of the big boom and all the great things that are happening in San Francisco. And he just says, I'm going to improve public housing. And he knew that was a heavy lift, but he grew up in public housing.
Mm-hmm.
And he wanted to see the people in San Francisco at the San Francisco Housing Authority have the same opportunities as the people in Pacific Heights and the people in Sausalito.
Right.
And I'm saying to you, I've lived in Mount Pleasant my entire life almost.
Hmm.
I want to see the same people here in Mount Pleasant and in Lee Harbor and in Glenville and Collinwood have the same opportunities that those individuals in Tremont,
Buckeye.
Detroit Shoreway, and West Park. The same
Buckeye.
opportunities that we are seeing in Buckeye too. I want to see those same opportunities given across the city.
Yeah.
I never forget, I tell people, for 1 year, I served with Mike White in his last year and in my first year. And I remember going into his office and he said to me, Councilman, I can go in any ward, any community, any neighborhood in this city, although some of those council people can't stand my guts. And he said, you know why, Councilman? Because I've got something going on in every ward, every community, and every neighborhood in this city. We can't say that today, but we should be able to say that. We've got the money, we got the resources, we have the quality of people in those communities. They just need leadership. They need leadership at 601 Lakeside that, first of all, is willing to take a chance. I mean, we got to take a chance on some of these neighborhoods.
You know, that's I'd like to say something when you finish.
Go ahead.
Okay, the thing is that's one of the things that I'm looking at. On my street alone, there's 27 vacant lots on Griffin. There's 27 vacant lots. And the thing is that when I broke it down for the $3.5 billion, that came up to like $318 million a year for the downtown. And to build, I said, well, if I got, there must be 10 streets in Ward 4 that has 27. So I'm saying, like, I want to build 270 new homes at $185,000 a piece, which turns out to be $47 million. That's a drop in the bucket for anything that they've done.
Well, let me just say this. See, some people look at those 27 vacant lots as despair, as deterioration. I look at that as 27 opportunities to give back to that community.
Right.
I look at that as saying, just like when I was using the analogy of Luke Easter Park, I didn't look at Luke Easter Park as or what you guys call Woodhill as this deteriorating park and there's gangs and their illegal activity. I looked at it as saying, you know what, this is an opportunity to bring families back to this park. And that's what we got to look at for the city of Cleveland.
Right. Yeah.
This gives this with we got over $500 million in stimulus money that's going to come back to the city of Cleveland from the federal government. I look at that as an opportunity to be able to invest in minority businesses so we can get those minority businesses back on Buckeye. So we can get those minority businesses up and down 105. So we can get those minority businesses up and down Kinsman. So we can get women-owned business. Who has been hit the most? Who has been hit the hardest as it relates to this pandemic? It's been the African-American community and it's been women. So who should we be investing in? We should be investing in women. We should be women-owned businesses. Women, let's put women back to work in the city. Let's put these minorities, these African-American businesses back into these communities. And I'm saying that you gotta do this intentionally. I was the Minority Affairs Coordinator for Ohio Secretary of State Frank LaRose for almost 3 years. I traveled throughout the state of Ohio. I got to go to minority businesses and see minority businesses in Cincinnati and in Columbus and in Dayton and in Youngstown and Akron, across. And what they were saying is, we just need the capital. So I'm saying that this is, but they also said it had to be intentional. You can't hope these things are going to happen. You can't wish these things are going to happen.
You got to have a plan.
We all love praying. We all love praying, and we know prayer works. But at the end of the day, you got to still be like Noah. You still got to be like Nehemiah. You got to get up on that wall. You got to build that ark.
Right.
I'm saying that I've got the experience, firsthand experience, that on day one, I'm ready to rebuild that wall. I'm ready to build that ark. I'm ready to show the people of the city of Cleveland that leadership matters. Experience matters.
Zack, let me ask you something.
Go to work.
I hear you. Appreciate that. Hey, Zack, now with regard to the money coming in, as mayor, you'd be responsible for how it's distributed. One of the things I'd like to see on the east side of Cleveland, I see a lot of new developments coming up, different construction companies building houses and groups and things like that. But I don't see enough Black contractors, not just contractors, but developers too. You know, I mean, we should be owning some of this real estate that's getting financed and getting built in our communities. And also, I know that they were coming, some of these companies were building, were getting people that don't look like us from West Virginia to come up here. And you had a good idea, and I've mentioned this to other people too. We got a lot of people, incarcerated people, coming back into the city to train them to be carpenters and hang drywall and painters and different things in landscaping. That would be awesome, because then they don't have to get into other things. You know, if we embrace them and take them back in and train them, then they're an asset. You know, they're taxpayers and they're not a burden on society. So that's what I want to see. Utilize that talent there.
Well, people think it was just a coin phrase because I used it so much on the campaign trail the last time when I ran in 2017 and got 41% of the vote, 25,000 votes, and we did a damn good job, and we're going to do a better job because we're going to win this time. But I would say this. I continue to say it. Nothing stops a bullet like a job. Nothing stops a bullet like a job. So if you actually want to see this violence go down in the city of Cleveland,
right?
If you want to see the crime go down in the city of Cleveland, start investing in people. See, Cleveland and the leadership, the present leadership, does a damn good job of investing in buildings and investing in
prison
and bricks and mortar. We do a damn good job of doing it. We need to start investing in people.
Right.
You
we
know
need
what?
to start investing in people. And that's the reason that I say to you that you've got to that's why I say to you, that's why we got to do something with that educational system.
That's what I'm saying, Zach. You know what? If it costs $100,000 a year to incarcerate a guy, why not create three $30,000 a year jobs, or $33,000 a year jobs, or four $25,000 a year jobs? We can get more bang for our buck. You know, these guys need something to do.
But I go back once again, and I say this all the time, and I continue to say it on the campaign trail. We know what the solutions are. Come on, let's be honest with ourselves. We know what the solutions are.
We do.
You look at other cities that have seen their violence rate go down dramatically because they've invested in people. They've really put in a real community policing plan. We know those cities that have gotten healthier, they've invested in people. That's why I said when you see me as mayor, you're gonna see common sense investment.
Okay.
You talk about one of the ways that you think you're gonna reduce violence in the city of Cleveland is building a $2 million dirt bike track. Come on, people. No. Let's be honest with ourselves. We're gonna spend $2 million on a dirt bike track so that we can try to convince those individuals that have been going up and down our streets that we want you not going up and down our streets causing this havoc. We want you to come down here somewhere where nobody even wants it.
And how they gonna get there because they don't have the trucks to bring them down like other people do.
But yet you got leadership that's the vision. We're gonna build this dirt bike track, and then you got council who voted for the $2 million. That's what I'm trying to tell you. It's got to be common sense investment and less invest in people. And I'm telling you, when we start investing in people, you will see dramatically. You will see Cleveland get healthier. You will see Cleveland get safer. And you will see Cleveland much more educated than it is today.
Zach, I want to go back to something you mentioned earlier about Willie Brown when he made a statement that he was going to
improve public housing.
Improvements to the public housing. Well, I think when you make statements like that, when you make declarations, you're kind of putting the pressure on yourself. Mm-hmm. And I think you are holding yourself accountable. And one of the problems I've seen with the leadership in Cleveland is nobody is holding themselves accountable. If before somebody would say something like that with leadership, they'll say, well, let's do a study, or let me do this. Nobody will say, hey, this is what I'm going to do. Hold yourself accountable, because when you hold yourself accountable, it's easy to get rid of somebody who hasn't done a job in 6 or 10 years. But you have to hold yourself accountable And I briefly took a look at your plan, and you seem to be doing just that. Could you speak to that a little bit?
Well, I mean, I'm fortunate enough to be young enough to to have worked for a number of individuals and old enough to been able to get the experience from working with those individuals. From we talked about Willie Brown, but I learned under Congressman Louis Stokes. I had the chance to really get to meet Congressman Louis Stokes, George Forbes. You talked about Lee Fisher. So I mean, so I've been in really good positions. And I've learned from those positions because I've learned how to listen. It goes back to what I said to you earlier. That's why we got to go out to these neighborhoods. You got to go out to the Slavic Village in the Broadway areas, and you got to go out to the people in Central and in Huff. And you got to listen to them. And what I've been able to learn from listening to people is they just want an opportunity. Everybody pretty much wants the same thing. They want to be able to take care. They want a good job. They want to be able to take care of their family. They want to live in safe neighborhoods. They want to be able to get, make a good wage. And they want to be able to provide for their families. Bobby Kennedy said it best. The greatest thing you can do for a man is you can get him a job. Because by giving him a job, first of all, he has dignity. Second of all, he has a chance to take care of his family. And then third of all, he has a chance to give back to his community and give back to society. So when you look at that plan on zackreed.com or votezackreed.com, you will see that it's filled with experience, it's filled with leadership, and it is filled with accountability. When I go back once again, when I talk about the festival in Lehigh that we put at Lucaston Park, that was a gamble. Mm-hmm. That was a big time gamble that says that we're going to have a free concert and 10,000 people are going to come to that park the last Saturday in July, and they're going to bring their families. They're going to be there all day because it's called Woodstock in the Park. And that I've got to bet on the fact that they are going to come and they're going to have family and they're going to have fun. And for 10 years plus, we never had a problem. Right. Why? Because I invested in them. Mm-hmm. I had faith in them. And I've got faith in the citizens of the city of Cleveland. I've got faith for the people who live in Larchmere area. I've got faith for the people who live in Wood Hills Estates. I've got faith in them, that if I invest in them, it's going to be a damn good investment. And I call it common sense investment. That's what I call it.
Okay. Well, Zack, tell people how they can get in touch with you if they want to volunteer for the campaign or if they want to help you financially. How can people reach you?
Well, first of all, I want to say thank you once again for giving me this opportunity to come on and lay out this platform of leadership, experience, and ensuring that we can make stronger neighborhoods, we can make more opportunities for everyone, and that we can make a better life for all. The best way of getting in contact with me is to go to Zack, Z-A-C-K, Reed, REED.com, or go to votezackreed.com, and you go on that website. And first of all, read the plan. I'll give you a quick story. Somebody on social media said to me, well, you talk about public safety. What are you going to do as it relates to public safety? And I think I said to them, just go to my website. They went to my website and came back on and said, you know what? I understand what you're going to do about public safety. Because it's right there. Yeah. Like you said, I think you said it, Robert. I've laid it out. Mm-hmm. Right. So if you go to zackreed.com or go to votezackreed.com, you will be able to see that plan. And then on that website, there's an opportunity to volunteer. There's an opportunity to get in contact with me, and we can have a full-scale conversation.
Okay. We got about 5 minutes left. Mike, any final questions? And then we'll go to Verl, and then we'll have Zack tell us if anybody's still on the fence why they should vote for him. So go ahead, Mike.
Well, I want to thank you for coming and laying out your plans, and I'm saying I'm on the same page with you on most of the stuff. I mean, you sound like the stuff that's in my head that I've been doing, but it's a pleasure that somebody could actually see, and there's a lot of people. One of the things that I like to know, if I could have, time to ask this question, there's a lot of people that are running for council. I think every councilman is being challenged. You know, say there's a 75% change or something like that. Would there be any problems with you working with the people to get them on the same page with you?
Well, all you got to do is go back and look at my track record. There's no way I could have been able to do the things that I've been able to do over the last, when I was in council for 17 years, without having the cooperation of my colleagues, having the cooperation of the administrations. There's no way I could have got that done. It's a quick story. People go up and down Kinsman Road and see that concrete road out there. And in some cases, they take it for granted. But it took me going to Mayor Michael R. White and saying, Mr. Mayor, if I'm actually going to change the face of Mount Pleasant, I've got to change Kinsman Road. And I just can't change it as it relates to just making it asphalt, because 100,000 cars go up and down this street every day. I need to make it in concrete. And Mayor Michael White said to Jim Rakudo, who was the service director at that time, said, hey, this councilman says he needs to change it. He wants to make it concrete, Kinsman Road, and it's going to cost us $11 million. And it was, until the Euclid Corridor, it was the most expensive large road project in the history of the city of Cleveland, into Euclid Corridor. So that took me having a vision, having the experience, and then cooperating with Mayor Michael R. White to get it done. So my track record speaks for itself on who we're going to be working with. I don't know if council is going to stay the same. I don't know if it's going to change, but City Hall, but Mayor's office is going to change, because we have a new mayor named Zack Reed, and I'm going to work with whoever I need to work with to ensure that we make stronger neighborhoods, more opportunities, and to make a better life for all.
Okay, Verl, I hope that answered your question, Mike. Excuse me. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, it did, because I'm gonna be knocking on your door.
All right.
Okay.
You're not going to have to knock on the door. You're not going to have to knock on the door. The door's going to be wide open. You just come on in, brother.
I'm walking in.
Yeah, you just come on in.
Zach, you have an excellent plan. And we've also had Justin Bibb on here and Bashir Jones, as you know, two gentlemen were running against you. But I'm hoping no matter what the outcome, because I see some very sharp people with some good creative ideas. I'd hate to see this other talent just disappear. And hopefully some kind of way, all of you, no matter who's at the top, can work together in some kind of way, synergistically, for the overall benefit of the city, and particularly our communities, Black communities, which have suffered so much.
Well, let's be clear. I mean, if Bashir runs and Bashir loses, I may have a spot in my administration for him. When Justin runs and Justin loses, I might have a place in my administration. I mean, I always use the example of John F. Kennedy. John F. Kennedy was one of my favorite presidents. And they asked him, why do you have all these young people around you? And he said, because they've got vision, they got energy, and they want to get things done. So you're going to see an administration with a bunch of young people there. Why? Because I want to groom those young people so that they can become the next mayor, so they can become the next congressperson, so they can become the next doctors and lawyers in this city. Because if we do that, then I guarantee you, Ver, that those individuals are going to be the ones that are going to go to those 27 vacant lots and say, hey, Mike, I want to build a house right there on one of those vacant lots, because I want to move back into the city of Cleveland. I work for the city of Cleveland. I want to live in the city of Cleveland, and I want to see this neighborhood grow and prosper again.
That's what I'm talking.
I don't have a problem with them running against me, but I want them to understand when they don't win, I want them to be able to do the same thing I did. I didn't give up. I ran 4 years ago. I went and got a job. I went and started my own business, ZR National Consulting Group. I went and got a job working for the Secretary of State. And I could have stayed with that opportunity. But I chose to quit my job, start this campaign again, because I believe in this city. It goes back to what you asked me, Robert, early on. Why do I want to be mayor? Because I love this city. I love the people in this city. And as mayor of the city of Cleveland, the second most powerful elected official in the state of Ohio, it gives me an opportunity to show you that experience and leadership, vision, and a plan can change this entire city.
Okay. All right.
All right.
Well, you heard it here. I'm sure you've heard it other places, but Zach, I want to extend thanks, heartfelt thanks to you for coming on the show.
Thank you so much.
We think it's important that people get to know the leaders, you know, and I think, you know, like I said, ZackReed.com. Is it voteZackReed.com?
It's both of them. You could either one. You go to ZackReed.com or voteZackReed.com. It will come up. Either way, just put ZackReed.com anywhere in there, and we bought them all, so it pop my website will pop up. And let me just say this once again. I want to thank you guys. And as you know, the biggest obstacle because of the pandemic, and you heard me talk about it early on. One of the first thing I'm going to work on is going to be to get our hands around this pandemic so we can become a healthier city. But you know, we need help getting our 3,000 signatures that we need for the to get on the ballot. So anybody who wants to come and volunteer, go to that ZackReed.com and volunteer to circulate petitions for me so we can have our 3,000 ballot signatures, so that on June the 17th, they'll be able to call me up and say, Zach, you're on the ballot. Let's go to work.
Okay.
All right.
Well, in closing, I would just say, you know, everybody, we appreciate you tuning into the show tonight. We hope that you were enlightened somewhat. And unfortunately, our time is up, but we thank you for yours. And until we meet again next week, wear your mask. Any closing remarks, guys?
I'm appreciative to Zack Reed for sharing his vision for the city with us. Very strong candidate.
Okay, Mike.
I appreciate that, and you know, it's nice to have somebody that has a vision.
Yeah, and somebody that's been, you know, been in the football game before, so that's good, you know. So again, you know, we hope the time that you spent with us was worthwhile, and stay tuned. You could see Zach again. Who knows?
Thanks, guys. I
Have a
appreciate you.
and thank you so much for joining us.
Have a good one.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Good night.